ஹலோ காய்ஸ், நல்லா இருக்கீங்களா? நீங்கள் மட்டும் அப்புறம் நல்லா இருக்கீங்க. சை, சரி இருந்து தொலைங்க. கம்மிங் பேக் டு அவர் வீடியோ. Why people are disappointed. Hey everyone, I finished playing Last of Us 2 for a few months now. After I completed the first game, I absolutely enjoyed it and still think about the game ever since. Last week I saw this subreddit and there is a lot of negative about the game. I'm not saying that is bad because everyone has their opinion. I'm just wondering, why do people think it's bad? How could it be better? What were your expectations before playing the second game? Are you still excited for maybe a third game? If there's gonna be a third game, are you gonna buy it? Just text me or send me an envelope. I hope to hear from you all. I'll try to keep my answers short, though, to really understand why I think that I would need to go into essay length answers, which I and others have done multiple times on this sub. Why do you think it's bad? Characters are poorly written and act in specific way in order for events to play out as the writer smart, rather than following consistent, believable characters' behavior. Plot relies heavily on coincidence and contrivance rather than believable sequences of events. Story is very manipulative and preachy in very obvious way that seems to almost disrespect the player's intelligence. Structure is a nightmare which develops the pacing and tension at vital points. Narrative is frankly boring, unimaginative, and needlessly depressing, leaving you feel flat at the end after a long, pointless quest that achieved exactly nothing and taught the place nothing either. How could they make it better? To make something I would be interested in or enjoy would require major story rewrites. However, I do believe the basic premise could be significantly improved by changing some details. Changing the story structure to Gilly Day 1, followed by Abby Day 1, etc., would improve the pacing significantly, and they could have tied two stories together much more closely, which would make the whole thing feel more cohesive. Instead, they are two mostly unrated stories which break the flow of the story. What were my expectations? I hadn't heard any specific details of leaks. I just had a sense that a lot of people were heavily criticizing the game. Nonetheless, I was fully prepared and open minded, hoping for a good experience on the back of Last of Us, which is one of my all time favorites. I expected that even if I didn't like the story direction they chose, I would still be well written. It would still be well written and coherent story that maybe I could respect if not enjoy. I was still excited for the third part. No, all the characters I cared about are either broken or dead, so I have no real interest in where they would take the story from here. Even if the third part is built on itself, I can't imagine anything that could be done to save it from my point of view. We'll probably watch some streamers play to see how the story is out of morbid curiosity, as much as anything else. And if it looks enjoyable, I might pick up a cheap copy a year or two after the release. Samyana, right, guys? Your first point perfectly encapsulates my feelings about the game. To expand a little on my part, my biggest disappointment by far was the characters. They were all very paint by numbers. Most of their personalities were defined by the role they had. Good natured best friend, tragic lover, intimidating leader, yada yada yada. I liked some of these characters fine, I guess, but I didn't love a single one. And that includes characters carried over the first game. I could have forgiven the weak narrative and poor story structure if the characters had been good as they were in the first game. Just to get my soapbox for a bit here, I was so disappointed by the female representation in this game. This game was supposed to carry the banner for non-sexualized female characters in gaming, and what did we get? Well, one of the previous best female characters with a distinct personality. Ellie gets it all stripped away and becomes defined by a trauma. Abby is also completely defined by her trauma and dictates everything from her physical state to her relationship status. So the female leads get presented as a victims, just like it's always been. So no big breakthrough here. They are complete slaves to their emotions, make huge life altering decisions just because they are mad. I mean, women have to fight these kind of stereotypes all the time as it is. I'm not giving this game a pass just because it removed the lens of the male gaze. Basically, the women here are either emotional messes or they are pregnant. Surely we can do better than this. Rant over, still mad though. Basically, the women here are either emotional messes or they pregnant. What do you mean? Are you trying to tell me that you don't like women in this game? You wanted a game full of testosterone, manly, bearded men fighting zombies, men who are righteous and making a cult servant zombie apocalypse. It's because you can't handle a well-written strong redemption, eyes white shirt kind of game. You don't like this game because you hate pregnant women, obviously. The amount of times the pregnant card was thrown around, lol. How do you feel about Jesse? But I also want to know what's your least favorite of the new bunch, excluding Abby. அப்பா இது போதும்ப்பா இதை படிச்சதே எனக்கு தலைவலிக்குது. That's odd. Don't they usually want the main character in the front? Last of us, every path has a price. Hey, என்னடா பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கீங்க டேய்? That's definitely odd, guys. That's odd. Don't they want the main character in the front? Yeah, it's like they hate dads. Isabella Mir's dad. Dad bod versus hard chick. The marketing team does not subscribe to the Cuckman's fetishes. They know what will sell the show. They fucked up by casting Bella. Now it's too late to recast her, so now they are pivoting to a new main character that's about it. Since they are apparently dragging this out for 4 seasons, I'm guessing there will be a pretty heavy focus on Abby. It's probably be a much better show. I don't think that's their harm. I think it's just shitty writing, to be honest, because they realized that casting Bella was a mistake. They had a perfect chance to recast after the time jump at the start of the season 2, and they didn't, obviously. So yeah, if they decided to feature Dina stronger in season 3, I might agree with you, but still it's season 2. The problem is they probably didn't fully realize how unsuited Bella is to adult AD until a chuck of filming had done during season 2. She kinda worked as a child lady, and season 1 was a huge hit. So initially, probably assumed it would work out, but it ended up being sudden damage control. Behind the scenes, I would wager there are a lot of new discussions at HBO about Bella's role in the remaining season or 2. The show is doomed either way. A TV audience isn't going to be interested in Abby's story, IMO, and the show Ellie is not a likable character at all. The whole show from this point is just going to limp along till it's done, sort of like part 2 story in general. It was an endlessly miserable slog of a story to get through. Actors have done scenes in the past only to have their role recast and a new actor brought in. For example, Marty McFly, they will film the scenes, then reshoot if needs be. More like they double down with season 2, just like Neil doubled down about Abby. And how many modern shows for the modern audience doubled down on how anybody who doesn't like it, some form of historism. Admitting fault or failure is a weakness to them. It worries the shareholders, so they won't ever say it in public. But behind closed doors, I would wager the heads are shifting brick because while they have to double on in public, they have this tanking their brand. They know this is tanking their brand. Abby is a much better character. They might just luck out the most of season 3. Will be starring Caitlyn or not Bella. Why the dad is so blurry? Basic marketing is you need something attractive, if not at least presentable instead of uncountable, not big signs. Yep, and they actually found her so unpresentable for marketing the show that not only she was not in front, but they also blurred her in background. God, வச்சு செஞ்சுக்கிட்டு இருக்கானுங்க ரைட்டு. நெக்ஸ்ட்டு ஸ்டண்டபிள் ஆஃப் எலி in the show. Ellie and Dina Stalker battle deconstruct the last of us. எல்லாரும் இப்போ இதுக்கு போவாங்களே ஸ்டண்டபிள் ஆஃப் எலி in the show. She should have been the Ellie. More. So the stunt double looks more like game Ellie than the chosen actor TV Ellie. Hairstyle Bella looks worse than with her flat hairline. Should have changed it, or not only for the role but for herself. At this point, she is mostly like very well aware and has it like that because it looks worse. For herself is a violation, so true. It makes me wonder if they insist to keep it that way, but it seems like both Bella and their father both have the same hairlines. Like maybe it's statement piece. So we will add her to the list of people who look more like Ellie than TV Ellie. A stunt double, TV Abby, Kaylee Spani, random TikToker and cosplayers, Terry Juice. Guy who advertised for Papa John has a place on the list. He was known how to deliver Ellie's jokes and wordplay significantly better than the hee ga bullshit this is going. This British strangle, since Neil must have been involved in the hiring process and approved it. Honestly, I think he hates his fans. I think that's why he's doing this. Unless he really is a shit of writer and just got lucky with the first game. Right, ra. ஸோ திஸ் இஸ் இட். இன்னும் ஒரே ஒரு எபிசோட் தான் இருக்குது ஃபினாலே. பார்ப்போம் அது எப்படி இருக்குன்னு சொல்லிட்டு. ஸோ நான் பண்ணுற கண்டென்ட் உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருக்குன்னா லைக் பண்ணுங்கள். ஓகே, ஏதாவது சஜஷன்ஸ் இருக்குது ப்ரோ, இது எப்படி பண்ணலாம் ப்ரோ, இதை பற்றி நீங்கள் பேசுனீங்களா, இந்த சீன் உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருந்து நீங்கள் எதாக இருந்தாலும் நீங்கள் கமெண்ட் செக்ஷனில் தெரியப்படுத்துங்க. அண்ட் இஃப் யூ வாண்ட் டு சப்போர்ட் மீ, ஹிட் தட் சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பட்டன். தட்ஸ் த ஒன்லி வே யூ கேன் சப்போர்ட் எனி அப்கமிங் யூடியூபர்ஸ். ஸோ இன்னும் நல்ல வீடியோ சந்திக்கிறேன். Until take a bye, see you all. Peace out.